In preparing for this talk, Reverend Mazia shared with me that your theme for the year 2023 is living in a world of love. And I thought to myself, really? Is that so? You know, are we living in a world of love, given what we hear and see on a daily basis? Sometimes in our homes, certainly in our neighborhoods, and of course, in countries worldwide. Then the line of that famous iconic song by Tina Turner came to mind, by the late Tina Turner. And I thought I would share from that perspective this morning. And so I've titled my talk, What's Love Got to Do with It? Well, let us look more closely at this matter of love. So in the Dictionary of New Thought terms by our founder of the Science of Mind teachings, Dr. Ernest Holmes, love is defined as the outpouring of spirit, the givingness of life to all. And in its lesser sense, it is the affection one has for another. When we examine this matter of love, one of the most epic passages that is often quoted from the Judeo-Christian Bible is 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And you're all familiar with this passage, no doubt. Well, for myself, I find that verse 4 of this chapter is my call to demonstrate what it truly means when I am being loved. And it states, I'm quoting the King James Version, love suffereth long and is kind. Love envieth not. Love vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up. And in the New International Version, it reads, love is patient and kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. Yes, when we are being loved, it does take a lot of patience, and we get lots of opportunity to practice daily, whether it is with our children, our spouses, friends, or loved ones, or just from driving on the roads daily with the motorists that we have. You know, here in Jamaica, our taxi drivers are infamous. However, of course, we must be kind to each other, not only those persons who are kind to us. And of course, we know that there is no need for envy. For us, we know that the universe is accessible to all. We just have to be willing and open to accept the good that it has to offer. And when it goes on to state that it is not proud, it is reminding us that of our own selves we do nothing. It is the Father within that doeth the work. So we don't need to let the ego get in our way. That is just edging God out. Friends, our Science of Mind teachings reminds us that the principle of love is not to be confused with mere sentimentality. Although all forms of love are aspects of this principle. This love to which I'm referring is the great transforming power, which brings everything into harmony. This love is the unifying principle, the creative element, the motivating power of all that is good and noble in life. So let us pay special attention to this statement. It describes love as the unifying principle. That principle is the universal mind in which we all live, move, and have our being. That mind is creative, and we each individualize this mind to create our experiences. It is that which calls us to be more and to do more. So are we experiencing more love in our lives? Having more loving relationships? Are we being more loving in our interactions with each other? Friends, these are all questions we should ask ourselves. You know, Emerson, that famous American philosopher and essayist, said, if you want a friend, be a friend. And Dr. Ernest Holmes tells us that the one who has learned to love all people will find plenty of people who will return that love. And so you see, friends, it is up to us. The love that we give out is the love that is returned to us. Now, author Gerald Jampolsky, MD, in his book, Love is Letting Go of Fear, reminds us that all that I give is given to myself. He says to give is to receive. That is the law of love. Thus, when we give our love away to others, we gain. And what we give, we simultaneously receive. When we give our love unconditionally to others, with no expectations of return, the love within us extends, expands, and joins. So by giving our love away, we increase the love within us, and everyone gains. Similarly, in our September 2023 issue of the Science of Mind magazine Guide for Spiritual Living, the theme was Love Out Loud. And in an article by Reverend Dr. Carol Carnes, formerly of CSL Calgary, who is a frequent contributor to the Creative Thought magazine when we had those, and she contributes often to the Science of Mind magazine, makes the point that love is all there is. This was the title of her article. And in it, she states that in the cosmic sense, love is a power that draws harmonious energies together to coalesce into some form or experience. So for example, when we have an idea that we love, something that stirs us, it is often at the point where significant change begins. And in the same way, our love for humanity gives us faith in our ability to do better for each other, albeit while generating goodness in a variety of new ways. So now I'd like to share an affirmation with you, and I'll invite you to join me. And it reads, I'll say it once, and then I'll repeat it again. God in me is unified with God in all. This one is now drawing into my life all love, all friendship, and all fellowship. So here it goes. I'll say it a little more slowly. God in me is unified with God in all. This one is now drawing into my life all love, all friendship, and all fellowship. And that is the truth. And one of the things we may want to consider doing, if we don't already do so, is a checking with ourselves daily, maybe before we retire to bed, just to see how the day has unfolded. What were the kinds of interactions we had with the persons we encountered? And maybe we want to journal what comes up for us. You see, friends, love is the greatest healing power on earth. And it is the very reason for our being. Now, you may have heard of, and it's really one mind in this teaching. So you read a poem to set the stage for my talk this morning. And here it is, I'm sharing with you also another poet, and that is Sir Derek Walcott. He's from St. Lucia, another Caribbean person, so I'm sharing from his perspective. And in his collected poems of 1948 to 1984, he wrote a poem called Love After Love, which speaks to the fact that in learning to love others, we must first learn to love ourselves. This poem has been described as undoubtedly one of the greatest, most soul-searching poems ever written. And I'd like to share it with you. So it reads as follows. The time will come when with elation, you will greet yourself, arriving at your own door in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit, feast on your life. Friends, this poem calls us to really look keenly at our own selves, because if we truly wish to love others, then we must first learn to love ourselves. Indeed, the master teacher, Jesus, in Matthew 22 and verse 36 to 39, when asked by the lawyer, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Our Science of Mind textbook reminds us that love is a complete unity with life, and we cannot enter this state unless we are in complete unity with all that lives, for all life is one. We shall love man as an expression of God, and God as the life principle in all. This doesn't mean, however, that we are to make a doormat of ourselves. Absolutely not. In proving God is love. Instead, we should be guided by divine wisdom and be wise in the ways of the world. You know, friends, truly, as the Christmas season approaches, it is the opportune time for us to be love and to give love to all who we come into contact with. So let us endeavor to practice the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so here I'd like to share with you a few tips that we can use to be more loving and caring in our interactions, not only during the Yuletide season, but every day. And so I'd like to begin. And these are simple tasks that you can carry out. It doesn't take a lot for us to do. And the first is, start by sincerely ask people how they are doing and really listen to their reply so that you know how to respond. Friends, that is something that we do, and maybe sometimes we don't consider that we are, asking. We just ask because it's the courteous thing to do. But I'm inviting you to really listen before you respond. And then secondly, be observant of the needs of others. Many times persons are sometimes too shy to ask for help, but if you are observant and you just look around, you may be able to identify a need that you can assist with. And the third thing I'd like to propose, create a schedule to check on people who matter to you. Yes, I want you to make time intentionally for others. We say we're too busy with our daily schedule. Well, we're going to schedule time to check in on those persons who matter to us. So we want to set aside that time intentionally. And then try to help, even in small ways. That would be my fourth suggestion for you. It doesn't always have to be giving money. It can be as simple as offering someone a ride home, or maybe a ride to the grocery store. Just find small ways in which you can show more love and be more loving. And then Another suggestion that I want to share with you is I'd like to encourage you to send encouragement notes. You know, those little notes, maybe you want to handwrite them, or even by social media. You are often on some form of social media daily. I can tell you, I'm sure there's not someone here who would tell me they are not on any kind of social media, if it's even WhatsApp. And so words of encouragement can mean a lot to someone who is going through a difficult time. And you might not even know it, but just sending out encouragement words that encourage others, you may lift another person up. And then give without expecting anything in return. Whenever you decide to give to others, make sure you do it with clear intention. You know what's another loving thing that you can do? That is pray for others. Yes, it's as simple as that. You can even ask your family or your friends or your colleagues about their prayer requests. And so we can include them in your personal prayer time. And friends, those are just simple everyday tasks that we can accomplish without taking much effort or much time. And of course, by all means, prayer is one of the greatest things that we can do for each other. But of course, in all of this, we must first start with loving ourselves. And so I'd like for you to join me in a meditation by Louise Hay called Loving Treatment. So I'm just going to invite you now to gently close your eyes for a few minutes and center your attention just on your breathing while you listen to the sound of my voice and just be present to this meditation. Deep at the center of my being, there is an infinite well of love. I now allow this love to flow to the surface. It fills my heart, my body, my mind, my consciousness, my very being, and radiates out from me in all directions. It returns to me multiplied. The more love I use and give, the more I have to give. The supply is endless. My use of love makes me feel good. It is an expression of my inner joy. I love myself. Therefore, I take loving care of my body. I lovingly feed it nourishing food and beverages. I lovingly groom it and dress it, and my body lovingly responds to me with vibrant health and energy. I love myself. Therefore, I provide for myself a comfortable home, one that fills all my needs and is a pleasure to be in. I fill the rooms with the vibrations of love so that all who enter, myself included, will feel this love and be nourished by it. I love myself. Therefore, I work at a job that I truly enjoy doing, one that uses my creative talents and abilities, working with and for people that I love and that love me in return, and earning a good income. I love myself. Therefore, I behave and think in a loving way to all people, for I know that which I give out returns to me multiplied. I only attract loving people in my world, for they are a mirror of what I am. I love myself. Therefore, I live totally in the now, experiencing each moment as good and knowing that my future is bright and joyous and secure. For I am a beloved child of the universe, and the universe lovingly takes care of me now and forevermore. So be it, and so it is. Friends, and I'd like to invite you to bring your awareness back into the space that you're currently occupying. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and be present here and now in this moment. So friends, welcome back. What's love got to do with it? Everything. Since our only command is to love God, love each other, and love ourselves, let us begin by loving ourselves some more. And in the words of our founding minister of the Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living in Kingston, Jamaica, Dr. Elma Lumsden, she would always close by saying, "Here ends the lesson, now begins the practice." Namaste.
Beautiful. Now ends the lesson, now begins the practice.
That's right.
Herein lies the challenge.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Practitioner Livingstone, for that. Wow. Powerful, powerful rendition. So we're going to open the floor now to anyone who has a comment or what's your takeaway today? You know, she gave us some tasks to carry out. Which ones are you going to carry out today? What's your divine guidance here? Any insights, any suggestions, any questions?
Of course. All right. Yes. I also would, open it up while persons get ready to start our discussions. But, we talked about loving ourselves. And I just curious, how many of us take the time to look in the mirror and tell ourselves this every day?
No.
That's something you may want to ponder or respond.
Yeah, let's see and respond. How many of us really do tell ourselves we love ourselves every day? And look in the mirror. As Practitioner Livingstone said, do we really look in the mirror? I don't generally look in the mirror when I'm saying it. Usually I'm driving down the road or doing something else. But who does look in the mirror while they're telling themselves they love themselves? Do you know?
Well,
yes, glad to be here. Thank you so much for the inspirational words. I don't usually, but I did look in the mirror last week. And I said, damn, I'm beautiful.
Awesome.
But normally I would just say it as affirmations, not in the mirror, because I'm out every morning. And so I would sit out in the open and just say affirmation. I love myself until I believe it.
Great.
Yeah, but thank you so much. One of the things I do, and some things I'll continue to do based on the suggestion you gave, was more encouraging notes. Yeah, because especially now, sometimes I know folks who could use it and I don't do anything about it. So it's just to, be more proactive in that sense. But what I do is I try to help the elderly. Like I was on this this chat, this devotion this lady was doing. She is a physical therapist and work with elderly, and sometimes they're alone and need some help. So I did offer my help, and she sent me someone. I met them, and her husband have dementia. And so she gets to go nowhere, and she was so grateful for that. So I was glad I was able to show love to someone in that sense. But definitely I will do more, because I need more love to come to me. So I have to give more.
Yeah, that's true. And you mentioned tasks to carry out. One of my tasks, of course, I do, a little of each one. However, I need to expand that.
Yes.
And one of which I'm going to definitely take on this week is to create a schedule to check on others.
Yes.
That's number one on my list. Check on others. Yes, I do all of them occasionally, but I'm going to expand on that. Yes. That includes my new friend. Yeah. Yes. Put it down. I gotta put it on my calendar. Some of my days are blank, so I gotta put something in there. That includes. Yes. Thank you for that. Sure. And talking about the loving yourself. When we were youngsters growing up in Jamaica, we weren't taught to love ourselves. We were taught love your parents first of all, love your sisters, love your brothers, love your teachers, your pastor, or whoever. But I was never taught. I don't know who else learned that, but I personally was never taught to love myself first. And so we are learning, as you're saying here, we should love ourselves before we go ahead and love other people, because of course you cannot give away what you don't have.
That's right.
That's a law. That's a rule. So I'm here telling myself I'm loving my teachers, loving my parents, loving, my pastors, and yet I don't know how to love myself yet. So I don't know if you have, some kind of comment on that. The youngsters these days, like my grandchildren, they are now 8 years old, and their parents been teaching them all along the 7 ups: love, joy, peace, wisdom, beauty, life, and power. And they say I love myself, but they just say it as a mantra because of saying it. However, I don't know if there's some other, advice that you have there up your sleeve that you could give us.
Well, for sure. I'm going to bring the other persons in who has their hand up, and there's some interesting comments also in the chat. Yeah. If you're seeing that. But one of the things, as you mentioned, is as kids, we're not taught that we should love ourselves, and that is true. But what I know that as we come into this awareness more and more, we are learning to love and accept ourselves. And so affirmations work. Someone in the chat wrote that they affirm daily, I love and accept myself. Yes. Or you may want to say, I love and approve of myself, because sometimes it is a matter of whether or not we approve of ourselves, because we never got that kind of reassurance or reinforcements that we're good enough. And so a lot of us have that carrying with us that we don't measure up. So if we can start just loving and approving of ourselves, no matter where we are on this journey, then that is one of the things I think will help us. So affirmations is also one of the ways we can do that to bolster this loving of ourselves some more.
Absolutely.
Yes, I too can identify with you, Reverend. I never thought here about loving yourself. And as I grew into the teenager, young adult, when, you start dressing up and they say you're vain. So even when you start to appreciate yourself and taking care of yourself, it's like, oh, you're so vain. And I've heard that. So it kind of shuts you down too. So sometimes, I guess you just, who do you listen to?
Yes, you're right about that. And of course, Practitioner Williams did mention the wording. I call it the worthiness factor. And especially living in this society back in, away from Jamaica. I didn't have that as much when I was living there, but now when I moved here in the early years, I had it. I'm learning my way through it and teaching my way out of the limitation, and accepting myself as being worthy of whatever. Telling myself that yes, I am a strong Black woman, and from the Caribbean, because sometimes you're seen as less than if you come from somewhere else. So I had to teach my way, to learn my way through that, living here. So thank you for the assurance.
You are welcome. And Levette, as you were mentioning, that they say that you're vain. Remember, we're not talking about the ego. I did say to you, it's not about being egotistical. Ego, as we know it, stands for edging God out, EGO. And so we are not coming from the perspective that we don't know that we are created in the image likeness of God. But on that basis and on that knowledge, we are able to stand on the principle that indeed we are worthy of love, because we are created in the image of that which brought us into being and fashioned and formed us out of itself. So if we know that that is the presence and the power that we are dealing with, then certainly when we say we love and approve of ourselves, we know that we are truly loving that God presence in us. And it is what we are emanating out to the other persons that we come into contact with.
Yes, absolutely. And also another point here, you mentioned that love is this power that allows us to expand and to stretch. And when we're being stretched, when we're being expanded, we generally don't like that, because that means pain. So that's another thing we ought to learn, that I ought to learn when there are the despicable moments arriving. That is one of those times when I'm being stretched, and the stretch it's uncomfortable, doesn't feel good, but I have to remind myself that love is ingrained in this event, in this situation. So it's love underneath, it's love on the backdrop that's really stretching me. And what I see here in front of me as the disturbance is just the smoke screen and not the real thing. The real thing is in the background there, causing me to stretch. So sometimes I misread it. Yeah, yes, I do misread it.
We all do.
Yes, I think it's something else. Oh, yeah, someone step on my toe. Oh, ooh, I'm crying from the step on my toe and not realizing what it really means. So
yes.
A great reminder that love is what stretches us, is what expands us, that power that really stretches us and expands us. Alrighty then. Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you so very much. I will look forward to seeing you in March.
Yes, I will be here. Thank you so much for having me. Really, really was my pleasure.
Yes, yes. And thank you, Judy Rose, JR. Want to see you again.
Yes.
And everyone who participated, thank you so much for being here.